All right, welcome back. So we're going to do another question, and this question is called, let's see, description, longest substring without repeating characters. So this question is actually pretty popular. You could see that it was asked by Amazon a lot, Microsoft, Google, and yeah, let's get into it. So, according to Leetcode. All right, so this question is actually pretty simple in nature. And here we have some examples. So all you have to do is, given a string, you have to find the length of the longest substring without repeating characters. So for example, if we look at this, we have ABC, so that would be one of a long substring. But then if we add the next character, A has already been in that substring, so you cannot get that 4-character substring. But BCA, you could do that because there's no repeating characters. And then once you get to here, BC, that's good because there's no repeating. But if you do BCB, that would not work because there is already a B in the substring. Okay, so then what you have to output is you have to output the longest substring, just the length, not the actual substring. And then that's it. The output is a 3. If we look at another example here, it's like B, 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 B. Obviously it's 1 because they're all the same character, B. And then if you try to take another character, it's another B, but that wouldn't work because that would be a repeating character. If we look at example 3, P, W, W, K, U, E, W. So you could kind of just use your mental, like you could just use your mind to kind of solve it. So P, okay, that works. PW, that works. PWW, that does not work. So far, 2 is the highest. And then if you look at it again, WW, that doesn't work either. And then at the end, you'll see that WKE is the best answer. All right, so let's go to the iPad and then see how we can solve this problem. So let's take the example, PWWKEW. All right, cool. So usually what I like to do is I like to think about the brute force answer. And in here, the brute force answer should be pretty simple because essentially what we want to do is we want to find the longest substring without repeating characters. So what do? I could look at every substring possible, and how do I do that? I just do a double loop. The first loop for the head and first loop for the tail. So for example, that's a classic for I for J loop. And then for each of the loop, what I do is I look at the substring and to see if it's a string without repeating characters. So what does that look like? So imagine I have I, and then what I do is I look at this, then this, then this, then this, then this, right? And then I have the same thing for J. So for example, if I is here, then J would be like J here, and then here, and then here, and then here, right? So basically what I'm saying is you look at this string, and then this substring, and then this substring, and then this substring, this one, and then after that you start on the second one. It's this substring. So you basically loop through the whole substring. And then for each substring, what I do is I see if it has a repeating character. And how do I do that? I could keep a set. Like for example, if I look at here, then W is in my set. And then once I reach here, we see that W is already in our set, so it's not a repeating. So it is a repeating character, so it's not valid, right? So you keep a set of all your letters that you've already seen. So the double loop you have is O of I, what am I doing? Is O of n squared, because you have to loop twice, and then n here is the number of letters in the string. And then each time you have to check if it's a substring, that's O of n, because you need to iterate through all the letters of the substring. And then to look if the letter is in the set, that's like a one lookup, so it's O of n. So if you multiply these together, you're gonna get O of n cubed. So that is pretty bad. It's not the best solutions you could find. So as you can see, when we just talked about it, we were checking this substring, and then this one we already know it's bad because it's not valid because there's 2 W's. So why would adding a letter work, right? So what you can do is skip all of these. So it wouldn't make sense to check these and then check these again and then check these again, because you already have a repeating character in your substring that is smaller. So you're not gonna go check larger substrings for nothing, right? So what we can do is we can realize that we can skip all of that whenever we see a repeating character. So there's something called a sliding window that we could do. So if we go back, okay, so a sliding window would be every time you look at a window, you have a set of letters, like for example, P, and then, okay, that's great. So then you're gonna move up the sliding window from the head. This is the head, this is the tail, right? So from the head, you're gonna go up like this, and then now you have P and W in your set. And then later on, what you're gonna do is you're gonna look at these 3 letters, but then you see that the new letter, it's already in the set. So what do? You're gonna move the tail, which is this part, that way. So next you're gonna look at this, W and W, but that is still not good. So then you're gonna look at W. And then finally, you have like, you move until you've reached to the letter where you've already seen. So now we have W, only W. So that's good. It's not repeating anymore. So we continue our sliding window. Now it's WK. So now we have W and K. It's not P anymore because we took it out, right? And then that is still good. So we do WKE. So that length is 3. This is still good. And then our hash would have WKE. And then we're gonna go do the last one, W, but now we see that W, we've already seen that character. So we're gonna look at this one. We're gonna, without the W. So the largest ones are either Q or WKE, right? I'll put some colors. This one or this one, right? Cool. So this is actually pretty good. So if you look at the complexity, it would be O of N. And the reason why is because for the sliding window, as you can see, it only moves forward from the head, and from the tail, it only moves forward. So we're never gonna repeat ourselves. So when you think about it, it's O of N max for how much you slide with the tail, plus O of N. We're doing plus here because it's not like for every value you have to do another O of N of work. So it's technically O of 2N, which is equivalent to O of N. So that's a lot faster, so that's great. We could still do it a little bit faster, and it's actually not that important because it's still gonna be O of N, but it's a little bit more optimized. So as you can see, it kind of makes sense that when we found a repeating character, what do? We actually go back one by one until we reach the repeating character, and then we continue. But what if we don't need to go one by one anymore, right? Like for example, this part. Let's look at this part. I'll use green. Oops. Yeah, like here, PWW. Like instead of going 1 and 2, we could just straight up jump to there, because we should try to know where the last instance of that letter was at, like which index it was at. So what can we do to remember that? So maybe instead of set, we can have a hash map, and the hash map could be a letter, and then the value would be the index. So whenever we encounter a repeating letter, we could jump straight to the character's index, last seen, so that you don't need to go through all of that, right? So in that case, it's gonna be optimized. So that's what we're gonna do now. So how do we actually do that? So instead of this, what we're gonna have is a hash map. So it's gonna be P0, because once we encounter P, it's the index 0. And then once we encounter W, it's gonna be W1. Once we encounter the new W, we're gonna move the tail to W. So I'll use pink. So we were here, and then instead of doing these useless things, we're gonna go straight to this block, because we already know where W was. And then we're gonna update our W index to 2 already, right? And then that's what we're gonna do. And then we continue, we're gonna have K3, and then E4, and then W, we're gonna jump again straight to here. We're gonna jump straight to here. And the reason is because we have the index. Cool. So what does it look like in code? So I'm gonna code it out right now. So, all right. Solution, definition, length. Okay, cool, excellent. So we're gonna be coding Python 3. So the first thing we wanna do is we wanna create this dictionary or hash map. I'll call them letters. right? So that is the one where letter is the key and then indexes are the values. So tail, we want two pointers. One is tail, one is head. The head just iterates through the whole string, and then tail would be the one that gets updated, and then the length of your answer would be head minus tail. Cool. All right, so now we have both of these, and then we'll keep result as 0. That is going to be our answer. All right, simple enough. So now we're going to do the actual logic. So what does the head want to do? The head wants to iterate through the whole thing, like very easy, just +1 all the time. So while head is shorter than the length, right? So we're going to iterate through all of that. And then the logic is, the first one is, if we encounter the letter already, then it's going to be in our dictionary letters. So if head in letters, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to update the tail. And here we do max because just in case the letter is like really, really old, as in like we've seen it previously, but the tail is already further than that letter, then we're not going to update it because there are other repeating characters that we've seen already, such that we cannot include those letters. Okay, as head. Okay, yeah, so now we have the tail getting updated, so that's good. And then, so what happens? What you do is we always have to update the map, so letters. So now here, what we're doing is we are getting the actual letter, and then what's the value? The value is the index, which is head, and then the result is the max of what we already have before, and then also, like I said before, head minus tail, that would be the length of the new string. And then what do we want to do? We want to keep iterating, so head will be we just add 1 to head, and then yeah, we just return the result. And then let's run it, see if it works. Run code. All right, cool. It passes the initial test case. We'll submit it. Okay, cool. Success. All right, so yeah, so that's pretty much it for this question. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. All right, thank you so much. See you on the next question.